Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to The Addicted Bookworm. Alrighty, I hope all of you had a wonderful day. I had a great day. I did finally finish Queen Charlotte. This is a prequel to the Bridgerton series. I will tell you. I had this on Kindle, and I was like, I have the next book on Kindle Unlimited, um, and I am really considering um, getting it for my Nook. I do have a $5 credit, so I'm really considering using it and paying for it because I absolutely loved this book. So Queen Charlotte is classified as historical romance. And for people that are in their 20s that like romantasy and all that stuff, I will let you know historical romance is very different than romantasy. And I'm not saying just because of the title or the subgenre. So, historical romance is a subgenre of romance, just like romantasy is a subgenre of romance, but also subgenre of fantasy. So, Queen Charlotte is about the wife of, ouch, sorry, it is about the wife of King George the Third. Now, King George the Third is famous, and for people that have never picked up a American history book in your entire freaking life, or can't read American history book, yeah, you know who you are. King George the Third was nicknamed the Mad King, and I think at first people just called him that because he must have been absolutely mad to try to defeat the Americans. But King George the Third was in essence the last king of America. There's actually a book out called The Last King of America. I don't remember who wrote it. I don't even remember what year it came out, but there is a book out called The Last King of America. And King George the Third married Queen Charlotte. It was in the 1700s. It was before the American Revolution. And he has a secret. Everybody has secrets, apparently. But King George has a big secret. And the secret is that he is going mentally insane. He has been like this since he was a little boy. And it is only, what was his name? Forgot the guy's name. But they used to be friends. They're 2 months apart. He's the oldest, George is the youngest. And when he became king of England, his friend became basically his attendant. His attendant is in a relationship with Brinsley, who is the queen's attendant. And he shares that secret with, So Queen Charlotte, Charlotte arrives. She's not queen yet. Charlotte arrives, and she wants to know what does her husband to be look like. And of course, nobody wants to tell him. Nobody wants to tell her what her soon-to-be husband, looks like. This girl knows nothing about marriage. She knows nothing about marriage. Both of her parents are dead. She's been raised by her brother. They live in a little part of Germany, but she's a royal blood, and so she is coming over. Now, historically, Queen Charlotte, who died, she died before her husband did. By this time, By the time that she died, he was so far gone that he would not have recognized his wife's body. But when she arrives, she has no political ambitions. She is just, she knows that there's baby making involved in, like, marriage, like, because where do babies come from? They come from women. But she doesn't know anything about the actual act. And this is common. This was very common back then. Mothers did not tell their daughters about the actual act. Now, take that back. I'm going to rephrase that. Some did. Some did. But most did not. And even in, like, close communities like the Amish, you don't have the talk at all. And even in, like, Jewish circles, there's no talk at all. You just somehow magically a baby just appears. So she becomes queen, and the first thing that her husband does is hides up in his little astronomy tower. He does not consummate his marriage to his wife. She has no idea that you are supposed to do that. He knows he's supposed to do that, but he doesn't want to, because he doesn't want to bring his wife into this world that he lives in. However, it soon becomes apparent that if he doesn't consummate the marriage, she's going to be able to leave. Because no consummation means she's free to leave him, to have the marriage annulled and all that type of stuff, and off they go. They go their separate ways. However, he loves her, and he knows if he wants to keep her with him that he has to do that. As time progresses on, Charlotte starts feeling like something's quite not right. And she starts trying to force herself more into his world and his life. And it doesn't matter how much she pretends to hate him. She doesn't actually hate him. There is a character in this book that made me want to throw up. His name is Dr. Monroe. Or I think that's how you pronounce the little bastard's name. He is a doctor that believes that dunking the king in ice baths, whipping him, tying him to a chair, even if he willingly goes into it, is going to heal him. And even his friend is like, how in the world is this going to help my friend? And then, to show how sick this man actually is, so there is in the show, it's depicted as a gift from the king. It's a Pomeranian. It's a puppy white dog. And it's a beautiful dog. Well, in the book, we find out that little puppy ball was intended to be an experiment. Like, he was going to hurt this little dog. This little dog that all he wanted to do was be loved. He was going to torture this dang freaking dog. I'm sorry, but the idea that you want to torture a small, defenseless little creature made me almost want to throw up. This man was so sick and demented. He performs not just psychological abuse on a man who's already on the verge of going mentally insane, but he also physically abuses this man. This is the king of England, Ireland, the colonies, and he's allowed because he thinks, because he's a big lover of science. He thinks that everything that comes out of these people's minds are sound. And this is this is a very far cry from previous, kings. Men that believed in superstition and stuff like this. It really shows how much England has changed from that time period. So you have a king that is going mad. They're trying to hide it from Parliament and all this stuff. Unfortunately, in 1811, George couldn't hide it anymore, and Parliament passed the Regency Act. And it is mentioned in the show, the Regency Act of 1811. It was also another act that was mentioned as well in there. I believe it was I think it was like the succession one. I think that was the act that Queen Elizabeth II changed to where if the firstborn was a girl, she would become queen when when her father died. But anyways, so we see this struggle that everybody goes through, and soon we discover quite plainly that as much as George would like to hide what's going on with him, he can't. And his wife becomes the only thing that keeps him stable longer than he probably would have. And also, the fact is that he fathers 15 children, apparently. A lot of them, I'm going to pretty much take a guess and say a lot of them did not survive to adulthood. Anyways, and then we have Lady Danbury. Lady Danbury was betrothed to Lord Danbury at 3. Yeah, you heard me right, at 3. And she's not used to be able to think for herself, and she's very, very concerned about her son, because these titles were given because of Queen Charlotte. And when Lord Danbury dies, probably of old age, in the most embarrassing way imaginable, not going to go into it. It was embarrassing. I always say to myself, we never know how we're going to die, but I just hope it is not with my pants down. Well, that would not be good. But anyways, he dies, and she has to pretend to be this grieving widow, and she gets the attention of Queen Charlotte's brother. And the moment that he mentions children, does not work out well. It does not. Because she's tired of having kids. She is tired of having kids. Anyways, it goes through, and Queen Charlotte lets her know, I already know about the situation since Lord Danbury died. It ends with the announcement. Charlotte tells George that finally one of his sons fathered an heir, and that heir, for people that don't know, that heir will later on be known as Queen Victoria, and it is her name that will earmark an entire era known as the Victorian era. Anyways, absolutely loved this book. I just wow, just the struggles that Queen Charlotte goes through, how she finds out about her husband's madness. They don't go into the American Revolutionary War, so we don't really know what Charlotte thought about it, because no country had ever had their colonies rebel against them. But I'm pretty sure Queen Charlotte had a lot to say about it. Also, interestingly enough, the War of 1812 was most likely started by George III's son. Just a thought. Because you have to understand is that the Regency Act of 1811 was a year before the War of 1812. So most likely it was George III's son that started it. Anyways, because by that time George was cuckoo. Alright. So anyways, it was a good book. It showed the decline of the king's faculties, how it affected everybody that knows him, how it definitely affected his mother. I don't know if people think it's a good representation of mental illness, but I think that she did a fair job. I mean, I don't know what it's like to go mentally insane, but I have been around a parent who has lost some of their faculties, and it's not a pleasant experience. It's not. It hurts so much, because you have this loved one that was normal, and now they're starting to become not normal. Anyways, I am going to read on Kindle this the next book, which is going to be The Duke and I. This is actually going to be a reread, because I did read it quite some time ago, so I don't remember much about it, but I'm looking forward to reading it. I do, however, let me look at this. Alright, I have a $5 thing, so I'm definitely going to check that out and everything. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.